I pretty much felt lucky, It's a weird lucky feeling. It's not natural, not normal at all.
Winning the lottery is as rare and random as it gets. Millions play and almost everyone loses. But there was one person who already knew he was going to win. And no, he didn't cheat. He didn't rig the system. He just knew and walked away with a massive $728 million jackpot. How did he know? What made him so sure? Let's hear his story. That unshakable feeling. April 23, 2019 started like any other day for Manuel Franco. There was no special moment, no sign from the universe that might have hinted to him that his life was about to be changed forever. But still, he felt like it. At 2 p.m., when he left work as usual, for some reason, he felt a quiet, nagging sense that today was special. That's why he decided to buy a lottery ticket. Like millions of others, he had played the lottery before, but there was nothing obsessive about it. He was not the type to spend ridiculous amounts of money on tickets or chase after lucky numbers. Yet, on that particular day, something in him felt sure about it. With this odd feeling, he walked into a Speedway gas station in New Berlin, Wisconsin, and bought $10 worth of Powerball tickets. But then, something strange happened. After buying the tickets, he felt this strong urge to look up at the store's security camera and wink at it. He didn't do it, but later, he would wish he had.
I honestly felt so lucky that I did look up at the camera, and I really wanted to wink at it because I just had that lucky feeling, and I know…
That moment stuck with him because deep down, he was convinced that this was it. He was going to win. He had no logical reason to feel this way, but the certainty was there. Unlike many lottery players who anxiously watched the drawing live, Manuel didn't even bother checking the numbers that night. He didn't stay up late refreshing the lottery website or clutching his ticket while panicking. In fact, he didn't even check it in the morning. He simply got up, went to work, and carried on with his normal routine. It was not until later that day, while still at work, that he overheard people talking about the Powerball jackpot. Someone mentioned that the winning ticket had been sold in Wisconsin. That's where he lived and bought the ticket, but even upon hearing this, he did not react. He did not even consider the possibility that it could be him. It was just background noise, just another lottery story he had no personal connection to, at least not yet. That evening, when he got home, he saw the lottery tickets he had bought with his girlfriend lying on the counter. That reminded him to check the numbers, so he grabbed them first. One by one, he went through the tickets they had purchased together and realized that there were no matches, no close calls. It was just another set of losing tickets to add to the pile. At that point, he could have stopped looking. He could have tossed the tickets aside and never realized what had happened. But then he remembered the $10 worth of tickets he had bought alone at the gas station. He reached into his wallet and pulled them out. It was time to check them now. The third ticket in the stack had a small win. He had won $4. Even though it was not much, it was something for him. It was his first win, so he set it aside and made a mental note to claim it later.
And I think it was the third ticket. I did win $4, and I was super excited about that. Doesn't happen very often, so…
He continued flipping through the tickets until he reached the last one. At first glance, it looked like a loser. He was about to toss it aside when he noticed something different. It was still attached to another ticket. That's when he decided to take one last look just to be sure. He glanced at the first number. It matched. He looked at the second number. It matched. That was the moment his heart started beating fast. He checked the third number, then the fourth, then the fifth. All of them matched. At this point, his hands were shaking. He quickly scanned for the Powerball number and saw that it matched too. That was the moment everything changed. He had just won $728 million.
At that moment, I'm like, no freaking way, Like, I pull that ticket in front of it off, and I go straight to that Powerball number, and I look at it, and it matched. And at this moment…
The jackpot. He was so overwhelmed that he screamed for 5 to 10 minutes straight. At that moment, he was the only person in the world who knew. No news articles had been written. No reporters were outside his door. It was just him, standing there and realizing that his entire life had changed in an instant.
When I won, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it at all. And I got that paranoia that you get where you think the whole world's after you. And
after the initial wave of excitement, he started panicking. When you suddenly realize that you're holding a winning lottery ticket worth hundreds of millions of dollars, The next thought that hits you is terrifying. You start wondering, where do I put this? Lottery winners have lost their tickets before. Some have accidentally thrown them away. Some have had their tickets stolen. Some have even had them destroyed by pets. The thought of something happening to that piece of paper was enough to send a new wave of anxiety through him. Manuel knew that he had to secure it immediately. Some people place winning tickets in bank safety deposit boxes. Others literally sleep with them under their pillow out of sheer paranoia. Manuel did what seemed safest. He locked it away in a safe at home. With the ticket secured, you would think he could relax, but that's when the real paranoia kicked in. For the next few weeks, he could not shake the feeling that someone was watching him. It was not logical, but he felt like people somehow knew. Like someone could sense that he was walking around with the $728 million secret. Every interaction felt different to him, and every glance from a stranger made him uneasy. Of course, in reality, no one knew. No one had any reason to suspect him, but that didn't stop his mind from overanalyzing everything. Well, in his defense, that was not an uncommon reaction. Many jackpot winners describe feeling completely on edge before claiming their prize. The sudden knowledge that they are holding life-changing money in their hands creates a level of stress that few people can understand. The paranoia was not the only thing weighing on him, though. There was also the question of what happens next. He didn't want to be one of those lottery winners who went broke within a few years. He had to be smart. So, before even turning in his ticket, Manuel made one of the smartest decisions a lottery winner can make. He built a team, taking the right steps. Most winners don't realize how complicated managing hundreds of millions of dollars can be. They think they can handle it on their own, and that's why so many of them lose everything. Taxes, financial planning, investments, legal structures, it's all overwhelming. Manuel was not going to take that risk, so he hired financial advisors and lawyers before even stepping into the lottery office. That way, he had a plan in place before his name went public. Because, yes, in Wisconsin, lottery winners cannot remain anonymous. That meant the moment he claimed his prize, the entire world would know his name. And that also meant something else had to change. It was his job. Winning the lottery is supposed to be the ultimate get-out-of-work-free card, but quitting is not as simple as walking out the door with a smug smile. Manuel Franco knew this, and he did not want to make any rash decisions that might have raised suspicion. So, he still went back to work after realizing he had won. But how do you focus on a normal workday when you know you have a $728 million ticket sitting in a safe at home? Well, he tried. He really did. But as expected, it did not go well. The day after discovering his win, he showed up to work as usual. Except nothing about it felt usual. His body was there, but his mind was elsewhere. The smallest things like conversations with coworkers, emails, and lunch breaks felt pointless. He was sweating, distracted, and completely unable to focus. His mind kept screaming and asking, "Why am I still here?" By the second day, it was impossible to pretend anymore. He knew this was it, his last day of work. So he walked out the door and never went back. Leaving his job was only the first step. Now the real work began. He had to claim the jackpot without ruining his life in the process. Now, if you know anything about winning a massive lottery prize, you would know that claiming the prize is not as simple as walking into an office, handing over the ticket, and collecting a giant check. The claiming process is full of rules, financial decisions, and legal considerations. A single bad move can result in losing a huge chunk of the money before you even see it. Manuel was aware of the horror stories. He had no intention of becoming one of them. That's why, before even contacting the lottery office, he assembled a team of experts. He hired financial advisors to help him manage and invest his money wisely, tax consultants to help him understand the complex tax system, and finally, lawyers to ensure he was legally protected from fraud, lawsuits, and unwanted attention. This was the smartest decision he made. Many lottery winners rush to claim their prize without thinking about what comes next. Manuel prepared first. Next, he had to make a very important decision. Take the annuity payments or a lump sum. The annuity option means getting the full advertised amount, but spread out over time. Each year, the winner receives a fixed percentage to make sure they remain financially stable for decades. The lump sum, on the other hand, means getting a reduced amount up front but having full control of the money immediately. At first, Manuel considered taking the annuity payments. The idea of receiving a guaranteed income for 30 years sounded great, but after discussing it with his financial team, he was convinced otherwise. He ultimately chose the lump sum, which meant receiving $477 million before taxes. That's a huge cut, but for most winners, it is the better option. Investing the money wisely can yield higher returns than waiting for smaller payments over time. Of course, there was another reality he had to accept. Taxes were going to take a massive bite out of his winnings. So how much did he actually get? The payout. After choosing the lump sum of $477 million, the first deduction was federal taxes, which took about 37% of the total. That's a massive $176 million gone instantly. Then came Wisconsin state taxes, which took another 7.65%, reducing his total even further. By the time everything was deducted, Manuel walked away with around $326 million in cash. Now let's be clear, $326 million is still life-changing money. He was set for life. But looking at the numbers, it's easy to see why financial planning is essential. Without a solid plan, even a jackpot this size can disappear fast. This is why he was smart for hiring financial advisors. After winning the prize, Manuel also realized one of the biggest downsides of winning the lottery in Wisconsin. It is that winners cannot remain anonymous. The moment you claim a major prize, your name becomes public record. That means within hours, the world knows who you are, where you live, and how much you just won. For lottery winners, this is often the worst part of the entire process. The moment Manuel's name was released, his life changed overnight. His phone didn't stop ringing. People from his past suddenly reappeared. Strangers began contacting him asking for money, claiming they were in desperate situations. This is a common issue for lottery winners. Once the world knows you're rich, everyone seems to have an emergency that only you can solve. Some winners have even faced lawsuits from distant relatives claiming they deserve a share of the winnings. Manuel had prepared for this. He kept his circle small and avoided unnecessary attention. He also learned to say no. Now the question is, what did he spend his money on? Unlike some jackpot winners who immediately spend millions on luxury cars and mansions, Manuel made some smart choices. One of his first moves was taking a break from everything. He didn't rush into buying anything major. Instead, he spent time with his family, processed his new reality, and slowly figured out what to do next. Eventually, he did make a few big purchases. Like, he bought a new home, he traveled to places he had always dreamed of visiting, and he helped his family, but in a way that would not lead to financial dependency. He was very clear about one thing: he wanted to be responsible. He knew that many lottery winners go broke because they spend recklessly or give away too much money too fast. He was determined not to let that happen. How can you win the lottery? At the press conference held to interview Manuel and his short but lucky journey of becoming a multimillionaire, he was asked if he will ever play the lottery again. To which he replied, no. And honestly, why would he? He had already won the jackpot of a lifetime. There was no reason to try again. While some past winners continued to play out of habit, Manuel saw no need to test his luck a second time. But let's go back to the most surprising part of his story. He felt lucky before buying the ticket. That's what makes this case so fascinating. He genuinely believed something was different that day, and it turned out to be true. Many people would call this manifestation, the idea that if you strongly believe in something, it can become your reality. Some swear that they visualize success, wealth, or specific events happening in their lives, and eventually, they claim these things actually occur. There are books, courses, and entire communities built around the idea that your thoughts can shape your destiny. But is that all there is to it? Can anyone just feel lucky and suddenly win the lottery? Well, not really. If that were the case, wouldn't we all be millionaires by now? Manifestation may work for some, but it is not a guarantee. It's one thing to believe in your luck, but it's another thing to increase your chances of success in any aspect of life, including the lottery. So if you're serious about improving your odds, there are practical things you can do. You can join a lottery pool where multiple people contribute money and split the winnings, increasing the number of tickets purchased. Some past winners have played the same numbers consistently for years, believing that persistence is key. Others follow statistical patterns where they track which numbers have historically been drawn the most. And of course, there is the simplest strategy of all, playing more often. The more tickets you buy, the higher your odds, though this does not mean you should spend recklessly. At the end of the day, luck is unpredictable. Some win after years of trying, while others, like Manuel Franco, strike gold in an instant. Believing in luck is one thing, but stacking the odds in your favor is a whole other level of smart play. If you want to know how to do that, make sure to watch our next video where we explain everything about Powerball and how you can increase your chances of winning. Click to watch now.